All right, so hey guys, this is the Purpose Project video 10 with Stacey. So I guess typically what I've done, Stacey, as you're aware, is just allowed you to introduce yourself briefly, tell the audience anything you'd like about yourself.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. And it's
Yeah.
great to meet you live on Zoom. So I'm Stacey Allaster. I'm a Canadian American. Lived half of my life in Canada. And I like to describe my professional life as a made in Canada international sport and entertainment leader. I specialize in the sport of tennis. I ran the Canadian Open. And then we moved to Florida, here in St. Pete, where I am today, to become the chairman and CEO of the WTA Tour. That's the worldwide league for women's professional tennis, the league that Billie Jean King started. And I did that for about 10 years. And I traveled about 150 days a year internationally, and I got really burnt out. And so I left the WTA. And then the United States Tennis Association came along and said, hey, will you come and run pro tennis for us? And I run the US Open today, that small little event in New York, just the largest international sporting event in the world. So that's the day job. But my real job is to be mom to an 18-year-old daughter, Alex, and Jack. Jack is a 20-year-old non-binary young adult. And I am the wife of a wonderful mixed doubles partner in my life, John, and we just celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary. So that is the shortened version of my intro.
Yeah, I mean that's wow, that's to be honest, I mean I'd love to one of my things is trying to encapsulate some of the awesomeness of life, and I mean you clearly have had a amazing adventure already. Um yeah, tennis is something that I guess we share in common. I haven't played too much. I actually have a friend that's attempting to go pro, a younger
Oh, yeah?
friend of mine is attempting to go pro. And yeah, I mean, that's super awesome.
Yeah. So, tennis, everything was given to me in my life through the sport of tennis. I was like 12 or 13 years old, and there was a program to get more boys and girls to play. So I was chosen from my school. I got a racket, 6 weeks of lessons, and a membership with the community tennis club. And 99.9% of us are amateur players. There's only a tiny, tiny fraction who ultimately get to the pro level. And it's been such a wonderful sport for me. It's given me my professional career. It's given me emotional strength and built up resilience. It's helped me be more strategic and more of a global citizen as I experienced the world through the sport of tennis. And I'm really fortunate now in my current role. I tell everybody I change people's lives through the sport of tennis. And I truly believe it can change your life, change my life. And a little kid from a little town in a little country. And I became the head of the Canadian Open, the head of the WTA, the first female in 140 years to run the US Open. And if I can do it, and those mountains that you climb when you're not feeling it, anything is possible. The power of the mind and the will of the mind is so strong when you activate it.
Oh yeah, I mean I mean I 100% agree with I like to rewatch his videos and see anything that I missed or didn't listen to entirely. But
Yeah.
I was, I was on this thing of, not to, you know, lean towards anybody who is an athlete necessarily, but I think it's just, it's very present. If you have been a part of especially high level athletics and you're even in the workforce, you can almost you can almost see who was an athlete and who wasn't, who was a part of
Yeah.
the team and who wasn't. Because you said you played mixed doubles, and even, playing against someone else, you're kind of working as a team in some ways. Uh,
Absolutely. I think everybody should, if anyone's listening and they have kids or they have young adults or yourself, sport has such great physical benefits. And this is actually a real study that by independent medical groups, one in the UK, one in those that play tennis can live 10 years longer. In addition, it's such a social sport. And at this stage of life, we want to hang with people who are fun, maybe a little competitive, but it gives, great physiological benefits to energize the body and energize the mind and the soul. And I'm just really lucky that I was chosen for tennis. I skied as well, but there's just nothing like it. So hopefully, maybe one day we'll meet and we can play some tennis.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's yeah,
I
I
think
think
about, in sport, you win and you lose, right?
mhm.
There's but navigating life. There's ups, there's downs, there's wins, there's losses, there's backwards and forwards and sideways. And I think that's what sport does for youth. It teaches them to get back up when things are tough. And we all have stuff. We all have to go through things. And that resilience and really flexing and working the resilience um, muscle. And what better way to do it in tennis when it's really just for fun that you can activate and learn, particularly when you've got other stuff going on in one's life that is heavy. And I tried to. It's a true story on resilience. I tried to get a job at Tennis Canada 3 times, and they turned me down 3 times. And so you'd think I would have, given up. But the one thing that I never do is I never give up.
Mhm.
I might get knocked down. I might stay low for a little bit, but I get back up. And if anyone tells me I can't do anything, this will be fun because I surely will show you that I can do it.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I mean, I've been on this thing recently, at least I had an idea. With me as anyone who gets to know me is I'll say a lot of things, but not all of those things will happen. In fact,
Uh-huh.
only, I think I'm working on figuring out my limits personally. I have a
Sure. We
ton
all
of
have limits.
ideas, a lot of great ideas, but just never follow through, or at least for myself. Maybe I'll, share those ideas or pieces of wisdom online. Maybe other people will take those and roll with it. But myself, I struggle with personally myself, following through with ideas. But anyway, I've been, on this thing over the past years of studying, people of success. And fortunate enough, I've been given the opportunity. I mean, seriously, I've been given the opportunity to be around a lot of successful people. And I think, if you really listen, you'll hear some of the same things. Um, you hear a lot of these people growing up that get rejected. Well, I think generally, a lot of people experience the same things. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
how you react to it, I think is another thing
Yep.
you'll hear often. A lot of people experience similar things. Um, but some people just for whatever reason, it's just ingrained in them just to not give up and just to keep plugging along and pushing away and
Yeah. And
wow,
sometimes,
wow, I
it's
say,
easy to say, right? It's easy for me to say, I get knocked down and get back up again. That good old song. I struggle at times, and one of the things that I have to keep working on is not taking it personally. If I'm working and a project, my boss doesn't like it or whatever, uh, I can get really sad and down and take things kind of personally. And that is also another thing that I continue to work on, even in this, 60 years of being on life. Like we're wired the way we're wired. Can't change how we're wired, but what we can do are take small little steps and live in the now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Let's just see what we can do today. And that sort of helps me refuel and along with some of the other things that we know help people recover when they've had a setback.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean it's something. I mean, part of me is kind of like, just keep plowing.
Yeah.
Keep that's what I say. Like it's like the things that I kind of say to make light of turmoil is kind of like battling. Like I'll just go into work and say, like, you guys battling today, like, you guys struggling, it's like you guys scrapping, like
Yeah.
you guys plowing. Like it's like, battling, if people say like, oh, battling demons, battling illness, in hockey, you hear a lot of the terminologies like scrapping with each other. Lacrosse
Yep.
is kind of like
Yep.
scrapping, kind of like scorpions fighting. So it's kind of like, I think what you've learned in life through tennis and your career is kind of like to develop that warrior mentality. Because everyone gets knocked down, but the true warrior, I mean, even though it's just it's one of those objective things, like the sun, rises and sets, just an objective thing. It's like true warriors are tough to come by, but true warriors often, especially those that are, rooted in, you know, at least that I've been around, and that I perceive rooted in more positive ideals. I mean, there it's, once they get a team around them and, some support, it's almost unstoppable.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a really good point about the
maybe
team
not,
around you.
yeah. I mean,
So
it's inspirational, I think, because I don't know. I mean, it's just like the warrior mentality. I mean, I'm sure, both of us have, maybe, we've been, maybe you are now, but I'm not like in the past, like I've been, just so, uh, you know, driven and, disciplined. And right now, maybe not so much. But I
mhm.
know that a lot of that stuff is what I was thinking about whenever you were talking about your career with tennis and my career in sports. Is like a lot of that stuff sticks with you, and you can't, it can't come out of you. Like those team working skills, that ability to, brush things off is a big thing that I'm on, and really compete at the highest level because you look at both male and female, and ironically enough, I think it's Women's History Month or Women's Appreciation Month, so it's awesome that
Yeah, you're right. It's Women's
uh,
History Month. Yeah, exactly.
that we got you on the podcast.
Yes.
Um, but I was even watching like a women's UFC thing on Instagram last night. And those, wow, that is, those
That's
I would not want to get in a
those are
fight with them.
strong
I
athletes.
mean, uh,
Those
I
are
think
strong athletes,
both
physically
men
and
and
mentally.
women. I mean, you just see some people compete in tennis, and like they're just animals. It's like I have a friend that talks about like savages, like just a different breed. And
Yeah, but I think it's a mindset, right? That's
yeah,
a positive mindset. There's a book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I think so Mindset, and it's Dr. Carol Dweck, Dweck, and she talks about the brain and how we're wired. And some people, we're all given our natural gifts. I'm 5'1.5" on a good hair day, and I do, mentally and emotionally take things too personally. That's how I'm wired. That's not going to change. Um, some people get defeatist. Well, I'm only 5'1". I'm a female. I'm from Canada. I can't become the head of the US Open. That's not possible. And they just accept that's not possible. They have their gifts and they stay in their language. Someone like me has this positive mindset where, despite my natural gifts, I can do anything. I can do anything if I put my mind to it.
Mhm.
I can do anything with hard work. I can do anything with setbacks. So it hasn't been a straight up and down journey. It's been twisted and turned, and I've had my low moments. And lastly, I can do anything when I believe in myself and I surround myself with people who believe in me.
Yeah.
And all of those negative detractors that like to chip away at us, I cut them out of my life. I'm pretty disciplined that way. I surround myself with good people and good people who want to help. And I just think of it as, is this glass half full or half empty? I choose to believe all the time, no matter what is happening, it's uh, half full, not half
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
And that is when you're feeling down, you have to push through it. And the physical pieces, I'll stop it, but let's talk at some point about the physical energy, because that ultimately
Yeah.
drives the emotional energy too, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's something that I've been battling. But I think talking about what you were talking about, um, through sports and stuff is, I don't think you're necessarily a, unpleasant person to be around. I mean, I've known you for, 30 minutes, but, I don't know you just don't seem like an unpleasant person to be around. But I think that a lot of people, um, that do achieve like a lot of success in life kind of have to really separate themselves from society and, really be demanding and, just headstrong. Maybe this is a thing, like maybe this is just a thought of mine. Um, in order to make themselves, shine to the world, and in order to make themselves, um, even make other people believe in what they're saying they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you're that type of person. But I'm just trying to think like, oh, how does someone get to the top? Like, how does someone get to a position where you're at? How does someone, you know, become, you can't be, it's like, I don't really think, for me, it's like I'm more of a passive person. Sometimes, not all of the time, but, at times I can be passive. And, I just don't think, with like my business, ideologies and goals and stuff, I don't really think you can be a passive person to really be successful in business. I don't really think you can, be that person, if you communicate to the world and universe, oh, I'm comfortable being walked over, I don't really care about myself, then it's like that's just what's going to happen. People are going to walk over you and
Correct.
try to like,
Yep. Yep.
so it's like I think we can transition into talking about, kind of like how do you like personally, maybe we can brainstorm for me, like, it's like how do you get energy? Like I think energy is just such a crucial thing of life. If you don't have energy, if you don't have like, consistently high levels of energy, it's kind of tough to show up in your best form.
It is
And you
absolutely.
might fall to things, that might be detrimental to yourself in the long run. So yeah, what do you think about, how
Yeah.
to,
So I think when we think about energy, I do think it's body, mind, and soul, and they are all interconnected, right? And they
yeah,
all don't have
I think
they all
body,
don't have to be in body, mind. They all don't have to be in balance because I don't think anything is ever really in balance. But I know for me, it's critical that I physically take care of myself so that I can take care of others. And I struggle to do that every day. I know I need a lot of sleep. So, I used to work 12, 14 hours a day. You can't get the kind of sleep that the body really needs. There are times when I have to do it, but I
mm,
do my best to sort of get that 7 hours. I know that's what I need. Some people need more, some need less, but that is critically important. I know if I don't eat, it's basics, right? Just think of the computer. Uh, if you don't charge the computer, you don't fuel it, what happens? It doesn't work. So the body's the exact same thing, but we tend to forget the basics. The mind, I need to give myself breaks. And, for me, the types of breaks that work are walking outside and looking at the water, looking at nature. There's good research that if you're feeling stressed, change your environment and look at nature. And if you can't go outside or whatever, pull something up on a screen and look at it. It resets the brain. And I found it's worked for me. Walking on the water or walking on the beach,
mm,
being on the water, just walking on the street, listening to the birds. It's calming. It's calming to the mind and helps to bring me back down. And on the soul, I think I am a good person. I know I'm a good person. Good parents brought me up with good values, in a loving relationship with a great partner in life. All of those things help to fill the soul. And I'm at a stage in my professional life that, yes, it is a job and there's compensation associated with it, but using the platform that I have today for a higher purpose. And that is to use my seat at the board table or in the C-suite to bring more diverse men and women, people to the decision-making table. In my sport, it's still pretty white, still fairly male. And so I wake up every day, two things, my purpose. My purpose is to use my stage to help this next generation of leaders, because they're the future of pro tennis, of
mm,
USTA tennis, and tennis gave me everything in my life, and I want that organization to continue to thrive so that more kids like
Mhm.
me, like you, get a chance to play. And then
Mhm.
my other purpose in life is to wake up every day and to support my family. And those are two good things that help to fill my soul, rather than just being on the hamster train of doing a job.
Yeah, I think basically it's kind of like, I think a lot of people are left in the dark. I was reading the Bible today actually on my phone, a pretty cool
Hmm.
application. If anyone out there is interested in studying the Bible, there's an amazing app on your phone where you can just, it's a really, really awesome, personalizable, you can scroll through and learn about the Bible. But in the Bible it talks about, some people will go throughout their whole lives without really achieving any wisdom, ever hearing about mind, body, soul, or at least maybe even, getting into it more and analyzing it more. I know through my experiences, I've had the opportunity to hear about that stuff a lot,
Hmm.
but once again, um, you can hear about that stuff and do nothing with it. And for
Sure.
myself, that's exactly what I've been doing recently, and that's just been hurting me. Um, I know there's plenty of people that do the same exact thing as me, but I think, something that I'm aware of is, and you're aware of, is working as a team collectively. So it's like, if we uncover something that helps other people with gaining energy, then it would be my thing. I would personally would want to share that. I don't know about you.
Hmm.
I know some people, if they, uncover some, mystery of life, they might just want to keep that to themselves.
Hmm.
They find some, magical way to, you know, get energy, sporadic, out of, they might just want to keep that to themselves. But I think, a lot of people in life, are stripped of wisdom and are stripped of, really even wanting to uncover more about life. And, I think through my personal experience, I mean, you reminded me of, nature is a great way to recharge. I think for me, it brings a lot of peacefulness, not being
Yeah,
surrounded by
exactly.
anyone else, just being with trees and, just watching the stream go by. It's truly amazing, honestly.
It's truly
Um,
amazing.
Kind of
All
scary
those
almost, but
calm apps and meditation apps, there are a lot of sounds and visuals that are from nature, because the brain does react positively to nature. That's why God gave us all this nature. Hopefully, we protect it better than we are today, but to help us. Not only is it food and how we breathe, but it's beautiful, to see the forests and the mountains and water, right?
yeah. I mean, I think also going back, yeah, I mean, I listened to that. I was just thinking, what you said about, kind of like, I think it's a very mature thing, in someone of your position, um, to kind of look to the future. Because we have, maybe, you know, there is definitely a near future for certain for all of us, and we should all prepare for that. And if in all business structures, people in your position and people in my position, could work together so that you could prepare people like me for, eventually positions that uh you are currently in. And I could support you in, um furthering, your like current success and endeavors, and
Yeah.
not try to, tear people, in the position of, influence down, rather support them, is something that I was actually reading today. Um, but it's just,
Oh,
kind
I
of like
love that.
basic things. I mean, because like, a lot of life, a lot of life, and I'm sure you're aware of, is resistance. We resist a lot of things,
Yeah.
both, good and bad. But what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was going to say sort of mentoring, reverse mentoring. That's been a big part of my journey. A lot of people help me on the way up. And so I get some good wisdom from Billie Jean King. And she always says, it's not what you get, it's what you give. And so that's why this higher purpose for me now in the role that I'm in is to mentor young people. And I'll probably spend 5 hours a week helping either my existing staff staff in other organizations. And, people reach out to me on LinkedIn and, hey, I saw your career. You spend 20 minutes with me. And I do it because people changed my life, and maybe I can help change someone else. And it doesn't take that much time to be able to do a little give back. And on the reverse, your generation, I can learn so much from you for myself,
Mm.
but equally as important, it has a benefit to my business to understand, how you might be interested in sport or live sports, and how we should present the tournament differently to a younger generation. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, I have that same thing of, growing up and stuff. I've achieved a lot of success just objectively, just like the sun goes up and goes down. It's just an objective thing. I was great in school, great in sports, without a team, without, teachers and other students that were supporting me, and a family that was supporting me, generally, in all of those variables, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Yes, I was,
Yeah,
maybe different than my peers in that I cared a lot and studied a lot. Wasn't this perfect person,
we
but
are not
still,
perfect.
was, one of my things is, you know, at the end of the day, you got to look yourself in the eye and say, this isn't going to happen. I'm going to have to do stuff to achieve, um, the things I want to achieve. It's not going to happen automatically most times. And that's kind of, maybe seen as a brutal part. Some people love the challenge. Um, but, kind of jumping all over the place. I think another thing for myself is, working across generations. I've been on this thing too of, trying to figure out some of my family history, because
Mhm.
I'm getting interested in history as well as, a lot of this, a lot of our ancestral past,
Yeah.
and just trying to look to, for answers, because, it can't all be mundane. People have had to, learn things and do things that, are really, really cool and inspirational. Um, so I'm just trying to uncover that, I've been advised, a great piece of wisdom is try to appreciate the moments of happiness. And if I can pluck, some things
It's
out
good
of the
wisdom.
Bible that I really relate to, some things out of other people's stories that I really relate to, and implement that into my life, that's all, that's what I want to do. Um,
That's-
so I mean, I think more so for my function, I don't know about you, but I think, from after all of my, personal reflection and, observations of my abilities,
mhm.
and also being realistic with myself, also not limiting myself, I think, something that I would be best at is being a support, in business, in a relationship, in, in any of my endeavors, like kind of like the supporting cast, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, through all that I've seen, for myself, I'd love to be a leader. I'd love to be a doer. I mean, I think they all kind of overlap, but for myself, um, I've, you know, and this is a serious thing. It's like, I want to be, even in my job now, like I'm a busser in a restaurant. That's a support staff position. Not the front of the line, but, without bussers, it'd be a lot more difficult. So
It feels and sounds like you want to be of service to others to then help fuel your soul. That's what I'm hearing. And if a busser is critically important to the function of a restaurant and to the customer experience, right? Like, I think it's really important that we're all just human beings. Yeah, I have this big job, but I'm just one person on a team of about 500 people, and everyone contributes, and everyone's contribution. I think it's just like a chain link, right? And if one person doesn't row in the same direction, then there's a breakdown in whatever we're trying to deliver to the customer. So I just want you to think about when you're walking into that restaurant, your higher purpose is coming with a great attitude, you're motivating your colleagues around, and at the end of the day, you're contributing to whomever's coming into that restaurant and having a great meal. And that's part of business. And that mentality, go back to what Billy said, it's not what you get, it's what you give.
Mhm.
And you show up every day to give your best self. That's massive to an employer, and more importantly to your teammates, right? Because that'll help inspire them and lift them up as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love that, mostly because, I can relate to that. It's not what you get, it's what you give. I mean, I get things, for Christmas, and it's not that I don't get
Yep.
anything. I think we all get things, but I think giving, I love the movie The Giver. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a great movie. Personally, I
That's a
love
great
that
movie.
movie. Um,
And
but
I listened on one of your podcasts. You were interviewing a pre-K teacher. She wasn't your teacher, but she was at your school, and you said maybe one day you want to be a teacher.
mhm. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I think, that's a supporting cast as well. Um,
Teachers are the most important people in our society. Teachers and medical professionals, and
yeah,
you know, they shape youth. They
yeah,
shape
yeah,
me, coaches, those people who are working with young people. And again, the medical profession and the firefighters, just high respect for everything that they do to help all of us. Those are really, really important jobs. And as a society, we need to do a better job at making them our heroes, because they are definitely heroes. I know that Jack and Alex's teachers were phenomenal on their journey in youth, and just we can't do enough to pay appreciation to teachers. So, if that is something that motivates you, I could see you being a phenomenal teacher.
yeah. No, I know. I'll say a couple things. I know for myself, it's like I've achieved success in the past, and I think, if you've achieved success in the past, it may be easy to rest on your laurels because you say, okay, I've already done well, I can just
Yep.
retire. I know I'm 23, so retiring at 23 would be slightly,
Too
unique.
early. Got a
Um,
lot more to give. You've got a lot more to give.
but it's kind of like I know I got it in me. I know I got it in me. It's just, I know I just need to follow through and, get the degree and, just keep chipping away
Yeah.
and, watch after my body and try to figure out ways to get energized. But I think what you said, that isn't really, you don't really hear it too often. Like, I'm on social media a decent amount, TikTok, Instagram, all of these things. And you don't really hear too many people talking about teachers. I think you're 100% right. It's like, while parents do have a part in raising their kids, kids are at school from 7 a.m. to 3
You
p.m.
spend more
5
time
days
with the
a week.
teachers,
Yeah.
and they don't really want to talk to parents at a certain age.
Hmm.
And teachers, and that's another reason why sports or music coaches also have a profound effect on youth. I don't know if you have the time, if you're looking for your energy. What was your sport? You played basketball? Is that what you played?
I played up pretty
Did you
much.
play
I played
basketball?
soccer when I was young. I
Yeah.
was a
Okay.
very good soccer player. I played tennis, basketball, golf, um,
Yeah.
squash. I played,
Go and volunteer at a youth organization, and I'm telling you, you would give off great, great energy to young people, and probably would help a little bit with the soul and give you some motivation.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I've been on this volunteering thing um
That's good. That's
recently. I
good.
think that's a, I think that's a good yeah, there's like a local YMCA. I don't know if you guys have
Yeah,
YMCA down
exactly.
where
Yep.
you're at, but
Something like that.
YMCA would be awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean,
And it's I know sometimes you feeling a little bit like it's a big mountain to climb,
hmm,
and can you ever do it? And John and I climbed Kilimanjaro for our honeymoon, so 28 years ago. And Kilimanjaro is a um, 18,500-foot
hmm,
mountain. And what I remember from that journey was the importance of going slow,
hmm,
step by step, because of the altitude, because altitude sickness is real. And there are forces that, basically can stop people from being able to get to the summit
yep,
because of altitude affects the body. But the learning from it is uh, It's one foot in front of the other, slow. And we would get to a stop point, then we would go up and we'd come back down. We let the body, recharge and refresh, get used to that altitude before then we would keep going. And those people that rush the mountain, they usually have collision courses.
Hmm.
So try to just sort of live in the now. The past is gone. You learn from what's happened. The future, we don't know what the future is ultimately going to bring. And I get worried about the future myself. I worry too much. So there's a book, Live in the Now. Okay, let's just live in the now. What am I going to do this week? What am I going to do next week? And just take it in smaller increments. I tell everyone, what do you want to do in 6 months? Let that be a goal, or 1 year. Let's not worry about 2, 4, 5 years down the road. Let's just take this thing one step at a time. And I know for me that sometimes, especially when you're running the US Open, it's a monumental
Yeah.
effort. I gotta take it in smaller chunks and remember to breathe along the journey.
That's
And it
I mean,
goes
those two
upwards.
things, man, as you said, you're big on your kids, but Kilimanjaro and the US Open, I mean, those are
Yes.
everyone around the world would know the two of those things.
Yeah.
Most
And
people
I,
don't. I
I, I
mean,
describe my journey on Kilimanjaro as my career journey. Up, back, it's just, there's no sort of straight vertical line um, with life, right? It's going to have its twists and turns, um, and that resilience muscle, and you can exercise it. Just like everything, we exercise the mind, we exercise the body. Having the strength to, for me, I'm an introvert. Getting into large crowds. I'm telling you, I'm running the U.S. Open, standing on a stage with 24,000 people talking. I get really nervous about that stuff. But I forced myself, little by little to do things where I was uncomfortable, and I learned to be more comfortable being uncomfortable. Still, I feel it, but I know I can do it, and that resilience, just can't stress how important it is. And those people, when I'm hiring people who've had adversity and have had resilience, those are the people I hire. People who have had an easy ride usually haven't faced real life, and I'd rather put a bet on someone who's worked really hard, had some failures, and pulled themselves back up. We can teach anybody how to do anything, but those are special gifts.
Yeah.
And it's not
That's
easy. It's easy to
encouraging.
say, but again, just one step at a time. And um,
That's encouraging. I mean, I think we're on the same page with a lot of stuff. It's
yeah,
just, you've
yeah,
achieved, you know, I mean, we both achieved, sporting success at varying degrees, but you've clearly achieved massive.
yeah,
I mean, you have. I mean, you've achieved, if comparative to most, you've achieved immense, success in business already. And that's just objective. It's like, so it's
yeah.
encouraging that, um, we are on the same page with a lot of this philosophy and stuff.
That's
Uh,
good.
I think like I do have a question, maybe
Yeah,
as well as a comment. I think, something that might help you possibly, as well as other people on this podcast, that are watching this. I think this is a great piece of wisdom. I think, we think that, it's either, suffering or not suffering. I think, more generally, it's kind of like more often than not, we're all kind of just neutral. Like we're not doing great, but we're not doing, terrible. Like that's just, all of us, it's like um the separation of kind of like good and bad, it's like I think we're all just kind of neutral most of the time. But we all lean, I think towards one or the other. It's like we all experience,
oh,
all of us might, while we're all neutral most of the time, like all of us, I think not necessarily to good or bad, but it's like I think, you know, I just think that's a big point of, understanding is that, I think a lot of us most of the time aren't really experiencing a whole lot of emotion, a whole lot of feelings. Most of us, have get to a point in life where we're not numb, but we just don't experience too many emotions. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I think that's kind of tangential, but I think like for myself, it's like, because you hear about a lot about anxiety, depression, all
Yep.
these things like it's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to jinx myself because I would hate to be in a, perpetual state of anxiety, anger, or real, depression. But it's like those things just pop up once in a while. You know what I'm saying? It's not like anybody, that I'm aware of. I've had, moments of, a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, anger sometimes, but it's like it's always just a moment. It's like I don't want to like, say that and then, people will try to make me experience those things. But I think that's just like a, kind of like something that could relate all of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
Kind of like what I was talking about last time of like, we all generally, experience the same things. Man, woman, no matter race. Yes, some people might be targeted. Yes, obviously, like you're saying, a lot of the world may be, more, you know, maybe
Not as inclusive and accepting of all.
yeah,
Mhm.
like maybe geared towards, like men. But generally speaking, I think we all kind of remain neutral most of the time. Most of the time. Uh and we all experience the same things. And for myself, I gotta get that through to myself because it's like, you know, like me and you were experiencing the same things, and you're basically at the top, and I'm basically at the bottom of like a financial system. Um, so it's kind of like, you know, the wisdom is already there for me at least. It's just a matter of trying to,
Yep.
continue learning while also implementing it and listening to people like you, not brushing people like you off. So I think that's something that, a 23-year-old might be able to do, seeing you know, someone of, in a position of, great position,
Influence.
not really
Yep.
listening to them. And that's something that I've, just done like with my mentors through school and all of these things that I've been through. It's like truly like I've always listened, to people I should be listening to, maybe people I shouldn't be listening to. But I think truly anybody, has some wisdom that you could, spin in your favor. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's why I think,
Yep.
yes, like, as you're saying, it's important to, get back to anybody, if they reach out to you on LinkedIn or text message or whatever. And that's why I'm super grateful of, you being willing to jump on the podcast.
Well, no,
I
I'm
really
super
hope that,
happy to do it. I'm
um,
energized by you, so happy to do it.
yeah, no, I mean, one of my things is, like I said, trying to support people in a position of, influence to keep chugging along and plugging along. But I really hope that, if there's someone out there that's watching this and inclined for tennis, I'm no Joe Rogan, but I have, had people on the podcast that, and probably will do amazing things in the future.
Well,
So, this podcast doesn't get a lot of attention now, but, um,
we all start somewhere, Will. I
yeah.
didn't start up here.
Hmm.
Started down here, single mom, partially disabled, didn't have a lot of money.
Hmm.
And, again, I'm just sort of living proof that anything is possible.
Hmm.
Ultimately, my destiny is if I'm successful, it's ultimately on me. If I'm not, it's ultimately on me. It's not anybody else's fault. And, the one thing that I continue to work on is don't let other people put me down. Don't let
Hmm.
other people tell me I'm not good enough. Don't let other people say you're not strategic enough to be the head of the WTA tour.
Hmm.
Um, and it's your point about we all get different emotions and anxiety and depression and anger is how
Hmm.
we deal with it,
Hmm.
right? And live in it, and then think about this next time. Think about a tennis ball. When the tennis ball hits the ground, if it has a lot of force, what's going to happen? It's going to bounce and it's going to do a big rebound, right?
Yeah.
So it had energy to get bounced up. If it's a ball that's coming in slow and bounces, really doesn't go anywhere, right?
Hmm.
We just come back to this energy of the mind and the heart, this positive mindset, where you keep focusing and think about that tennis ball and bouncing up and deflecting. Some people have this unbelievable body armor that they can deflect, and like a duck, the lousy things that they said to you, that just rolls off their back. I love those people. I'm not one of those people. I let it sit there and seep a little bit, but
Hmm.
I can eventually get re-energized and sort of personally fight back. I got a quote, I'm not going to let the bastards get me down.
Hmm.
And ultimately, who's in charge of how I feel? Me. If
Hmm.
I let what somebody says to me really affect me, make me angry, that's on me. Um, so I want you to read that book, Mindset, because there's a
Right.
lot in it. It's a simple read. It's not a hard read. And I think, you'll reflect back on our conversation and you go, yeah, I hear what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, I actually have a list of books that people have recommended.
mhm.
So I'll write that down. I'm pretty sure I actually have. I said I didn't, but I'm pretty sure definitely I've heard of that before somewhere. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think,
There's one more, it was while we're on the book list. I had another one that I was going to recommend. It's called The Four Agreements. Have you heard of it?
yeah,
Yeah, you read it?
yeah, actually, I have.
Yeah. So, there's good wisdom there as well. Those four principles. Be impeccable with your word. I'm a good person. I'm high integrity, high values, ethics, and those are the people you want to surround yourself with, right? Um, don't take anything personal. Don't make assumptions. Man, I make assumptions all the time. But again, that's another sort of stop, breathe, listen. And all we can do is our best. And some days I'm not great, but that's okay. Can't be perfect 150% of the time, 365. And let yourself, cut yourself some slack a little bit while
Yeah,
you
man.
re-energize.
I think, we've been on this for pretty much an hour.
Yeah, with Zoom,
So I
we've been
think,
zooming through it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great place to end the podcast. I mean,
I think so. That's a good way to
yeah, I
end.
mean, so I guess, I wish my pen unfortunately doesn't have lead at the moment. Typically, I've liked to take notes so that I could review at the end. Anybody who's still
Well, you've
watching
recorded it, so
what
you
we
get
talked
to
about.
be able to go back and take the notes from there.
Yeah,
And maybe we'll do another one in 6, 8 months or something and see how we're at, how I'm
yeah,
doing, how you're doing.
yeah. No, I know Joe Rogan. I think a lot of other podcasters like to reloop back and
Yeah,
talk about stuff more in their podcast that they didn't necessarily pick up on, or talk about anything else that's new in their life, anything that's yeah, how we're doing.
sounds
Um,
good.
so yeah, I
All
mean, I
right.
think once again, I appreciate especially National Women's Month. For myself, generally speaking, I am truly curious of more about the women experience. So I think, I started out this podcast with a lot of guys. Now it's kind of flipping
Yeah,
to
I saw. Yeah, it's good.
more women. And not only that, but extremely extraordinary and really passionate, tough, calloused, women that have achieved a lot of success. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think, I'd love to use this as a network base for people that have been involved in the Purpose Project to connect with one another, and just simply as, a way for me to get to know people and you guys to get to know me, and just have a, more intellectual, possibly motivating discussion. So,
Would love that.
I mean,
Yeah, really happy to be able to do it and proud of what you're doing to help others. You've got to feel really good about the work you're doing.
yeah, I mean, this is, it's a project in the making,
Yeah,
this is a dream come true. This is something that, I think truly could impact a lot of people. And, I do have the resources to, be in contact with a lot of, not to discriminate against anyone that isn't in, amazing positions, in my opinion. But I think, truly anyone can, make an impact in whatever they do with
everyone
the
can make an
community they're
impact. We're
around.
all
So,
we're all just human beings. We're on the journey together. We're all equal, men and women, black, white, people of color, their sexual preference. We're just human beings. And I think that's really important. You know, when you see people, just see them as human beings. And I'm just Stacey. Stacey
That's very,
who's
very
done a
humble.
good job and lucky to have an amazing family. So
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, in honoring of National Women's Month, if that's the correct terminology, is there anything you'd like to say to anyone out
Women's
there?
History Month.
Women's
Yeah,
History
look, and tomorrow is Equal Pay Day.
Month. Oh,
Like we in this country, in this world, again, celebrating uh, women who have been trailblazers, who have advocated, who have put themselves on the line so that someone like me would have an opportunity to be the first female to run the US Open in 140 years.
wow.
Uh, I just have amazing respect for them. And now I stand on their shoulders to continue the work where we do have equal pay in this country for men and women, and we do have equal opportunities for employment and inclusion for all. And that's what it's about. It's just all of us taking our unconscious bias or our conscious bias and seeing everyone just as a human being and treating them like a human being, because that's all we are at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, I think you're extremely articulate and definitely honored to talk with you. I think that's an amazing,
Thank you, Will.
I think
It's been fun.
I have been to the US Open actually. I have whenever I was in ninth grade.
Okay,
So I
well, maybe
know
one day
I'm around a lot of
you
I'm
can come
actually
back.
around a lot too that I can think of big tennis families.
Cool.
Really big tennis families that, in the summertime whenever tennis comes on, it's always on. So they'd probably be
I
super
love it.
interested in watching this and getting to know you.
Very
Um,
good.
but yeah, I mean, I think always at the end, I try to wear this shirt. It says "Be
I saw
kind."
that. Yeah, I saw you wear that same shirt all the
Um,
time. Be kind. That's what
so
it is about, right?
yeah, I think
Human kindness. That'll make the world a better place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a big thing that anybody can do. And then also, I always like to shout out Zoom for allowing the both of us to hop on here and do recording. I think Zoom is awesome.
It is
And
awesome.
love to continue, shouting them out. It's an unpaid sponsorship at the moment. But
At the moment, you can keep working
yeah,
at it.
so yeah, I guess
Okay.
without further ado,
Without further ado, peace out.
we
Be
will see
good.
you
Be
guys
kind.
soon. Be
Bye.
posting this video soon and more purpose project to come. So thanks again, Stacey. And
Thank you,
Purpose
Will.
Project family.
Thanks
We'll
everyone
see
for
you soon.
listening.
Yeah.